Welcome to She is Resilient, a podcast for women on their healing journeys who are ready to start living their most authentic and empowered lives outside of survival mode. I'm your host, Tatiana, trauma and somatic therapist, as well as a holistic coach, and I'm on a mission to help more women heal their nervous systems. Each week, me and my guests are going to get real and vulnerable about the experiences that led us to becoming the empowered and resilient women we are today. You'll leave this podcast with the skills, knowledge, and inspiration to start creating the life you deserve. Because if another woman can do it, so can you. Why does my mind say one thing, but my body another? This is a question that I get asked all of the time. I often have clients who say, I know it logically, but for some reason I don't feel it in my body. An example of this is worthiness. I have women say to me, I know logically that I'm worthy, but I don't feel worthy. Another example is I know logically what to do, but I can't get myself to do it. And there are so many other examples of this, but it all comes down to the mind and body not being on the same page. So the reason your mind and body are not on the same page is because your nervous system doesn't use logic. So your mind is going with what your logical brain knows. But your nervous system, aka your body, isn't using logic. So if we continue with the example of worthiness, then you may know in your mind that you're worthy, but in your body you might feel emptiness or disconnection or fear or anxiety or something else, right? And it's not matching up with what your mind already knows. So in order for your mind and body to be on the same page, we need to connect with your nervous system's primary language, which is physical sensation. And the only way to connect to physical sensation is through connecting to the body. This is why mindset work is only going to take you so far. And it's also why changing your negative mindset is not about changing your thoughts. It's actually about healing your nervous system. Because whatever is happening in the mind is just a reflection of what's happening in the body. Your body experiences something way before it even reaches the mind. But if you're disconnected from your body, if you're disembodied, then you might think you experience thoughts first and then the feelings in your body. But it's actually the other way around. You feel things in your body and then you think a thought. But again, it happens so quickly. And of course, if we consciously think a thought, then of course it's going to impact our body. But we're talking about those unconscious thoughts that come up, right? When you unintentionally start to have those racing thoughts or that negative self-talk or negative thoughts about yourself or the world, right? Those involuntary thoughts aren't going to change just because you think a different thought. It might for the moment, it might help in the moment. But if you want to have a more positive mindset in the long run, then you need to connect to your body. You need to heal your nervous system at the root. Remember, the nervous system is responsible for your brain. So you can't just think your way through healing. You need to be embodied. Once you become embodied, once you heal the nervous system at the root, then your mind and body will be on the same page. So again, let's take the worthiness example. Let's say that you know logically in your mind that you are worthy, but in your body you don't feel worthy. So in a somatic experiencing session, I would ask you to notice what's happening in your body as you acknowledge that you're worthy. What sensations or emotions come up for you? Depending on what comes up, I would guide you through the survival response that's coming up if there is one. If there isn't one, and you notice that you start to feel confident and strong and uplifted, or maybe another pleasant sensation or emotion, then I would ask you to sit with those sensations and emotions a bit longer to see what happens, to see how your body responds. I'm assessing how much capacity your nervous system has to be with those pleasant feelings. Most people who are disembodied don't have much capacity for pleasant sensations, so they may feel calm for a few seconds, maybe up to a minute, but then their body goes straight to activation again. An example of someone who has a low capacity for pleasant sensations or emotions is someone who has difficulty accepting positive feedback or compliments. Like someone who says thank you and tries to move on or change the subject, right? We all know someone like that, or maybe it's you, right? I know I used to be like that. I couldn't receive a compliment because I didn't feel it. I didn't believe it. So I would just say thank you and I would try to move on and dismiss the compliment, instead of receiving the compliment and just allowing myself or allowing yourself to just be with what's coming up. So going back to the somatic experiencing session, we would sit with the sensation and emotions for a bit and just give it lots of time. Here's why. Your nervous system needs time and space to catch up with your logical brain. So by continuing to sense into the body and giving the body enough time and space, then you allow the nervous system to fully understand what the logical brain already knows. And always remember that your nervous system is not using logic. So if you're noticing that your mind is saying one thing, but your body is feeling another, then that's a good sign and indicator to connect with your body. It's the same thing with affirmations. Affirmations are great and all, but unless you're connecting to your body, affirmations are just another way to think your way through healing. So if you practice affirmations, make sure you're also connecting to your body and noticing how your body responds to those affirmations. Always come back to the body. I love affirmations, but the way that I use affirmations is really to see how the body is responding. So I use affirmations in my somatic experiencing sessions, but again, it's truly just to see how the body responds, how much capacity the nervous system actually has to be with that affirmation. So again, affirmations without connecting to the body aren't going to do much in the long run. And as I talk about thinking your way through healing, it also reminds me of how many people are currently intellectualizing their feelings. Feelings don't live in the mind. I've had people say to me when I ask them where they feel an emotion, I've had people say that the feelings live in their mind, that it's coming from their mind and not their body. And that's a good sign that you're disconnected, that you're disembodied, because feelings don't live in the mind, they live in the body. And with so many people consuming mental health information on social media, I feel like more and more people are actually intellectualizing their trauma, emotions, and healing as opposed to actually feeling the feelings and being with their body, right? Because knowing more does not actually mean that you're healing more. If you know my story and you know how I got into somatic experience, you know I've talked about this before, about how when I became a therapist, I had all the knowledge, I had all the skills, I knew all of the coping strategies, and I knew all the things that were supposed to be helping me. But for some reason, I was still living in survival mode. And that's because I was disconnected from my body. And just because I intellectualized my trauma and knew all the ins and outs of why I was experiencing what I was feeling, doesn't mean I actually felt any better. Because healing happens in the body. And the why you're experiencing something isn't actually as important as the what you're experiencing in your body. And there's science to prove that. And anyone who is still telling you that mindset is everything still hasn't caught up with the new science and research that's out there that clearly shows how your thoughts and everything else is directly connected to your nervous system. Humans are bottom-up beings, not top-down beings, meaning that we feel things in our bodies first and then think it, which is what I was saying earlier, not think things and then feel it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me in your healing journey, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you absolutely loved this episode, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcast, or take a screenshot and share this episode on social media. Don't forget to tag me at tatiana.holistic.coach. The more nervous systems we reach, the more generational cycles we break, and the more we contribute to a kinder and safer world. And if you're looking for somatic healing services, send me a DM and I'd love to chat on how I can support you. I'll see you in the next episode.